What's up, guys? Your boy, 20K13. I'm going to talk about 10 biggest WWE missed opportunities to turn John Cena heel. The John Cena heel turn is a bit like the Loch Ness Monster. Some people are convinced that it exists. Despite all other evidence to the contrary, they dedicate their every waking moment to spotting it and will speculate about when or how or why it will appear. Thick, wet tears streaming down their faces. You see when it finally arrives. It will solve everyone's problem. They start frantically scrubbing themselves in the shower. You'll see. With Daniel Bryan currently on the bench for what could be an indefinite period of time, here hoping for a Shawn Michaels type resurgence a few years down the line, and the fans having soundly said thanks but no thanks to Roman Reigns as the face of the company. Cena's spot as a top babyface is more secure now than it's been in years. Who would he fight as a heel? Randy Orton again? The perennial reason for keeping Cena face is now. It has been for years. T-shirt sales, while the roster isn't nearly deep enough for a heel Cena right now, pastel colored tee that pins back for the Mueller false bond shouldn't have kept him face for as long as he has. There were a number of times in the past decade of hustle, loyalty, and respect that WWE could have been shaking things up and allowed darkness to fall over the C Nation. Number 10, against Roman Reigns. This ship has sailed now, with Reigns' box pushed to the top, leaving him months away from building up the level of connection he once had circa Payback 2014. Heck, you could even argue that the fans started to turn on Reigns because of Cena. Both men raising each other's arm before battleground, a sign of stale things to come. The WWE chose to have Reigns go up against Randy Orton and Big Show to cement his run as a top babyface. Hardly two of the most thrilling competitors for the job. If they had really wanted to light the rocket push under him that they did, they should have turned Cena heel on him. Had the company running angles throughout the entirety of the post-SummerSlam 2014 season of Cena. Frustrated at his crushing loss at the hands of Lesnar and furious that Roman Reigns is receiving all of the attention, thoroughly turning and brutalizing the ex-Shield members, it would have made Reigns as hero a much easier pill to swallow. Fans would have been less hesitant for him to become the new Cena. If the current Cena has thoroughly reinvigorated his character, it's possible that the universe would have been too shocked to notice Reigns being shoved down their throat, and by the time the Royal Rumble rolled around, Roman could have had a loyal fan base behind him. Number 9, against The Rock at WrestleMania 29. Just because the story was crying out for something, anything else, the match was such a rehash that it generally appeared that the story wouldn't be complete without one final swerve. This one actually seemed plausible at the time. God knows why. WrestleMania is a huge stage, and perhaps something as big as the fabled John Cena heel turn would be wasted anywhere else. They had been heavily working the idea of a John Cena having the worst year of his life in 2012 after losing to Rock at WrestleMania 28, which is more than a little difficult to stomach considering that John Cena had a personal net worth of $35 million. The idea was for this match to be Cena's redemption and in the promo leading up to the showdown. He constantly hammered it home that he needed to beat The Rock, that it was everything to him. That sort of desire can turn a man in the legend Q&A before the big match. Cena even showed signs that his hunger was making him a darker man. but Alice, nothing came of it, and the two men celebrated after WrestleMania 29 ended. The crowd thoroughly bored by the empty rerun they had just witnessed. Number 8. Embrace the hate. Surely before his clash with The Rock at WrestleMania 28, John Cena needed a feud. The WWE showed the visible embrace the hate angle. The leader of the C Nation feud with Kane for 3 long months about how Cena shouldn't rise above hate. He should embrace it and turn on the fans. The angle only serves to do 2 things. Number 1, permanently cripple the career of Zack Ryder. Kane humiliating him in the eye of the fans. Number 2, waste everybody's time. Even taking into account that Kane is too old and too slow to be engaged in a top feud, something that the company is still ignoring. The angle just serves to force Cena's stale platitude upon the crowd, with absolutely no development. Kane, be bad. Cena, no. That was the feud. The WWE had the opportunity to blow everyone's mind by actually turning Cena heel, by having him actually embrace the hate. No one would have seen it coming. Doing so before WrestleMania 28, and his first encounter with The Rock would have seemed like a huge swerve, but in actually it would have made perfect sense. The event was taking place in Miami, Rock home crowd. Cena was going to be the biggest heel in the building, regardless. Number 7, versus The Authority. The Authority angle had been going for just under 2 years. It feels like it's been going for all of our lives. After what people thought was a thrilling conclusion to the angle at Survivor Series last year, it had limped along, accomplished nothing of actual consequence. Triple H and Sting faced off at WrestleMania, which didn't require the reinstating of the Authority. Triple H could have fought him for revenge at losing his management position. Seth Rollins is WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but he already had the briefcase. It could have played out exactly the same way. Basically, if the Authority was going to return and prolong their appearance on the fan TV screen, they needed a reason for doing so. Enter John Cena. After the Authority was vanquished, it was left up to John Cena to bring them back. A wider open door for a heel turn there could not be. During the post-Authority conclusion, have John Cena take over running Raw and SmackDown, have him rule with fairness analogy, but then he starts to make cruel choices. Eventually, power corrupts him, and when a superstar tries to get him to step down, he brings back the Authority. Cena, aligned with those in charge, makes perfect sense, because that's already how the majority of diehard fans see him. As a company man, rooting at the top of the card thanks to hated management. Number 6, his first title reign. Look to CM Punk for the perfect blueprint for a long title reign. Half of it was spent with him as one of the top faces on the card, wowing the crowd with his wrestling acumen and never give up hardness. The other half of the reign was spent with him as a sniveling chicken shit heel, forming a partnership with the greatest manager in the business and wowing the crowd with a number of different ways he was able to worm his way out of a match, still holding the title. It was a fantastic title run, and something that the company should have used years beforehand. During his first title reign that spanned from 2005 to 6, Cena began to be booed by small but vocal members of the crowd. First in his feud against Chris Jericho, and louder in his subsequent feud against Kurt Angle, the WWE probably confused by this reaction, and betting that it would pass, chose to keep him face. They should have read the writing on the wall. They should have turned him heel. It's easy to book now in hindsight, but WWE could have potentially saved themselves an almighty headache later down the road by simply acquainting to the fans, giving them a reason to boo Cena. They could have turned him face again later, and like The Rock in the late 90s, he could have reconnected with the fans as a charismatic heel rather than a cheesy face. Instead, the WWE refusal to address Cena's problem made them seem stubborn and submit Cena's status as a permanently divisive figure. Number 5. Double turn with Randy Orton. Cena's rivalry with Randy Orton throughout much of 2009 was painted as the biggest rivalry that ever blah-dee-da-dee-doop-dee-dum. The two had traded the WWE title back and forth for months, and the feud was set to be blown off in an anything goes Iron Man match at Dragon Right 2009. An hour is a mighty big canvas to work with. With careful storytelling, the company had the opportunity to tell an amazing story here. The stipulation of the match dictated that this was Cena's last chance at Orton's title, and if he lost, he would leave Raw with the stake that high obsession could have corrupted John Cena. Picture this. Cena throws everything he got at Orton, but he found himself being out-wrestled by the Viper. 30 minutes in, Cena had found himself 3 points down. He started to get a bit more violent, turning up the heat. As the clock hit 20 minutes to go, Cena showed signs of visibly panicking. Orton kept kicking out, refusing to yield a single pinfall. Cena grabbed weapon after weapon and break them all against Orton. Kendo sticks are splintered, tables are broken, chairs are dented and buckled, but nothing worked. Orton is so realistic that the crowd starts to cheer for him. The announcer starts to become concerned as the clock hit 10 minutes and Cena become more frizzy, knocking out the referee after another Orton knockout. Cena begins to tear apart the ring as the clock ticked down. Jerry Lawler tried to calm him down and get an AA for his trouble. Finally, Orton wins and Cena goes ballistic on him, confirming the double turn, and he is transferred to SmackDown, which he ruled as the new top heel. Number 4. Joining the Nexus. Nothing cements a new heel stable like an unlikely heel turn. Just after the NWO, when the Nexus burst onto the scene in a flurry of violence and Cena blood going, the new faction took the wrestling by storm. Or rather choke it with its own tie. By the end of the year, owing to being beaten by Cena's team at SummerSlam and having him thwart their plan for months, the group ran and finally collapsed. But what if Cena had aligned with the group, revealing that the time they had beaten him down was one huge setup? What if he had laid down at SummerSlam, allowed himself to be pinned, and became the new leader of the Nexus? Then there truly would have been a wind of change blowing throughout the WWE, rather than the same formula. Cena could have wielded the army of young rookies like a sword, using it to regain the WWE title and set himself up in a position of authority over the company. The angle could have run all the way until WrestleMania. Instead, the stable fizzled out and Cena fought The Miz. Number 3. Recruit by Bray Wyatt. This angle would embrace the hate 2.0. The WWE have a terrible habit of debuting monster heels, having them work their way to the top before falling at the feet of John Cena. It's what happened to Umaga, the Nexus. It happened to Rusev, and it happened to Bray Wyatt. Wyatt was, and still is in a diminished capacity, a truly awesome new talent. He was fascinatingly weird and had just put on 2 matches of the year 2014 candidate in quick succession, one against Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble and one against Shield at Elimination Chamber. Then he was set to face Cena at WrestleMania 30. His motivation was forcing John to accept the darkness at his heart and reveal himself as a liar for all the world to see. He wanted to corrupt Cena's legacy, Cena beat him clean, but what if he hadn't? What if Wyatt had recruited John Cena to form a Wyatt coalition? What if John Cena had attempted to grow a beard? There's no telling just how powerful Wyatt would be if the WWE had actually pulled the trigger and let him start actually recruiting people, which he had failed at twice. With Cena in his stable, he would be nigh unstoppable today. Number 2. One Night Stand 2006. Cena had never faced a crowd as hostile as this, not even Money in the Bank 2011. When Cena walked into the Hammerstein Ballroom in 2006 to defend the WWE title versus Rob Van Dam, there was blood and fury in the air. There was no better single pay-per-view crowd more receptive to a Cena heel turn than this one. What if Cena had not just retained, but cheated to retain? Go for it. Ignite the riot. See what happened. As fate would have it, RVD squandered his title win anyway by being arrested for drug possession shortly after. So while fans are looking back and wondering what else, just try and picture the scene of Cena had turned heel and cheated the hometown hero out of his shot. It wouldn't have been pretty, but it would have attracted mass public attention. Only one thing would have incited as much hatred. And number 1, beating the streak. This might be an unpopular choice. Ultimately, the streak probably shouldn't have been broken. Looking back, considering the run that the WWE has so far gotten out of Lesnar, the streak ending wasn't a necessary part of that. But how about a mean of turning Cena heel? After all, doesn't Cena feel like the only superstar who will be able to actually pull off the impossible? Then try and imagine the sort of nuclear heat that Cena would receive if he had cheated to do it. It would create a heel turn for the ages. Cast your mind back to Hogan at Bash at the Beach, 1996. It would have felt bigger than that, because the streak was one of the few things that fans still cherished about the sport without any irony. For Cena to have taken that away would have magnified his real-life heat tenfold and created an ultimate villain for the next big babyface to conquer, which one could argue is exactly how Cena should be booked in the final year of his in-ring career, if only there were babyfaces to take up the challenge. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Peace.